Hello to everyone in the community who probably wasn't expecting this if you haven't been following the studio, but this is an announcement and also explanation of extended categories, or category extensions if you will, for this game. It's come to my attention that any percent, or completing the game as fast as possible, so as we've been doing runs forever, is sometimes not very fun, because it's the same thing over and over again. You are doing a lot of the same thing. It's always the same run, always the same way, and we needed a bit of something to flavor it up. So if you look here in the server, S161431 has come up with a brilliant idea for some category extensions, and if you see here, beautiful ideas that I will be going through to show you kind of what we're looking at. And so I might as well just go through it. So the first category that they thought of was called, I suppose, refresh percent. I'll go through that first, because that was what I was messing around with most recently. Now, refresh percent, is the idea of getting to the refresh at the top of the infinite elevator as quickly as possible. So to demonstrate what that looks like in the form of a run, just to show kind of what you would be doing for this category, you would run normally for the first parts of the game. Get yourself to the elevator itself just by any speedrunning strats necessary, and then you can either go to the second elevator, or you can do what I do whenever I do this and use this elevator. You can skip that jump too, and then it is just elevator skips galore until the end of time. And there's a thing put in place, I'm not entirely sure why. I'd imagine it's some data or overflow, where if you go too high or the variable gets too large, it can't sync with the server. The cloud variable would break if there were that many digits. I'm imagining, I could be wrong. And so the idea of this run is to essentially get to that point, get to the point where it refreshes as quickly as possible. And as you'll see when I get to the end of this attempt, there's a nice part about this run, and it's that at the end of everything you do, the timer will be frozen, where you can get a screenshot and record proof. And for example, at the end of all of these elevator skips, you will see, right here, okay, so it refreshes. And this here, I guess 133, I'm not sure how that time's going to end up looking as far as the run as a whole, but I think for now that's pretty good. So you see, it still shows the time, on the, you can't reset, I don't believe it, just stops the project as a failsafe for the online mode, but it does allow for you to see the time. So at this point, to upload a run, you would just take a screenshot of this. It's pretty clear what's happening between everybody being below you, being on the infinite elevator, that this is a refresh percent run. Now for the second category, minimum jumps, and this is the one that I think is the coolest, personally, for routing purposes. The idea behind minimum jumps is exactly what it sounds like. You're trying to beat the game with as few jumps as possible. And as far as I'm aware, I'm going to be showing off the fewest jumps you can beat this game with. Ooh, that might be a little risky. Yeah, okay. This is a force jump. You have to ride this, and as part of the category, I had to focus through that section so I wasn't talking, but as part of this category, turbo mode will be allowed. You can turbo mode, and it speeds up your attempts, but it won't necessarily speed up the game. The physics are always deterministic. It will never change the physics of your character. All it will change is how fast you have to wait, how long you have to wait for each of these elevators. Here's a difficult jump. Okay, I got it. Perfect. And that right there is the 12th jump, if you will, is the last jump that is required for this run. And you see the route, you might be thinking, how is it the last jump? We only just got to the end of the game. Well, that jump there gets us to the infinite elevator. And if you're aware with anything to do with this game, the infinite elevators allow you to fall great distances while riding up them. Now this is precise. To not touch the flag at the end, you have to kind of do some math. It is from the moment you touch the first elevator on the right, it is exactly 4 minutes and 25 seconds is the furthest that it needs to go. So we got on the elevator, I think it was 1:23, so I'm going to be aiming for 5:20, or 1:23 would be 5:48. I'm gonna go at 5:47 to be safe, because 5:47, you'll see, if it happens, is potentially run ending. If you go too high, it will refresh. So you have to be prepared for that. So I'm thinking it's 5:47. I might go at 5:46. Yeah, okay. It should still work. And you'll see, just the right amount. It looks like it could work, but it is very precise. Doing the math in your head and keeping track of everything. I think this is enough. There we are. 6:06 time for... And there's a benefit to this one. It does keep your time because you are just getting back to the flag. The problem is, it's really hard to say whether this was a no jumps. So what's going to happen, I'm going to be releasing a speedrunning build for this game that will allow you to change which category you're going for, so that it'll display certain variables like a jump counter or things like that, so that it is immediately obvious to anyone that, one, it is a valid speedrunning build, because I know everything that would have to go into it to make it valid for speedrunning. But as well, I can make it into a build that is good for speedrunning, something that gives you some tools that the main build doesn't, that also makes the regular run a little bit easier. And so I hope that's helpful, but that'll also make this category possible. So I'm expecting somewhere, maybe around here, to be a slider to switch between which type of run you're going for. Either that or some hotkeys to switch between which active run, so that as you reset, it'll keep track of the things that it needs to for you to be able to run each category. I guess that concludes the second category, so minimum jumps. 12 is the minimum number of jumps, and the way that we're doing the leaderboard, I believe that was 12. I think I did 12, because 12 is the lowest number that you can possibly do. But if those tricks are hard, because I know the slope trick where you do the high jump into the other high jump to save that one jump before the first elevator is very difficult, as well as the elevator jumps themselves, getting up to the infinite elevator. If those saves are too difficult, then primarily the top of the leaderboard will be the lowest number of jumps, and then within each number, so like of the people that beat it in 12 jumps, of the people who beat it in 13 jumps, it'll stagger. So whoever did it with 13 jumps fastest will will be the ones on the top of their respective part of the leaderboard. So it's going to prioritize the route that I just displayed, doing that as quickly as possible. And I by no means did that as quickly as possible. It could have been better, could have been faster. I landed around here, so I could have saved maybe 4 seconds by landing here. There's time to save, and I think it'll be interesting to see how people do it. It's difficult, but it's very cool. And that brings us to the last category, Crouchless, which was an invention of the runner here himself, S161431. The idea being, do not crouch at all. So that means no high jumps, no long jumps, and no crouch glitching or slopes, which essentially boils the rundown. I haven't routed this, but essentially boils the rundown to how quickly can you beat the game if you're not allowed to do those specialty jumps. And it is quite difficult. There's a lot of time to be saved all around. I think it could be an interesting route. At first I was doubting because I didn't know. I thought that taking out the specialty jumps would make the run more boring, but as it turns out, it just completely changes the route. And by no crouching, I of course mean no S or Z or down. Any way you can crouch in the normal game, you shouldn't be able to do. But it does allow for wall jumps. Wall jumps are fine. That's the only specialty jump that's allowed. No crouching, no slopes like there. And that also means no elevator skips, which I'm sure some people will be very happy about. I'm just going to turbo mode slightly through this, make it go slightly faster. And like I said, I never came up with a route for this. I'm imagining there are way more optimal strats to do this with than I have come up with. Point in case right there. But this is just to demonstrate that you just go through. No high jumps, no long jumps, no nothing. Do the old strat, landing here. And then, of course, finishing the game by jumping off of that. So I'm imagining this will be roughly the time that most runs will be completed. 130 to 120s. I don't know what the fastest time is at all. I haven't practiced this category at all. I'm sure the runner that I mentioned earlier, S161431, would be able to say if you go into the studio. But this one is interesting. It's cool. You don't think about these kinds of things, like, oh, how fast could you go if you didn't do all the specialty jumps that make up the route that we currently use in any percent. And when I say any percent, I mean the base game strategy, so like jumping here to get here and do all of that. All of this is considered any percent because it's just as fast as you possibly can, any way you can. And so, yeah, so that gets, that's enough of that. For these runs, I'm going to be, here's the leaderboard here. I'm going to be putting a new category underneath the current leaderboard right here. I might push the rules to the top just so they're more easily seen, but yes, the other leaderboards will be underneath here, underneath the rules, or yeah, maybe somewhere in between here. Just their own quotation block for it to be separated. I'm probably going to put the big text inside each box just to make it look a little neater, and a small synopsis of the category, the rules, and then I'm going to have a little rules section underneath each category for the category itself. And at some point I'm going to be releasing that speedrunning build, and I think that's going to help, and I'm going to put a link to it both here and down here on the resources page, which I'm going to reformat, like put this video there. But yeah, so I think that'll help a lot of people like be able to find things, and also give runners that are very talented but don't necessarily like the run that we currently do, give them an opportunity to shine, because there are many ways of playing this game. It's very versatile and very fun to play, I would say. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what people can do with these categories. I personally don't know how much I'm going to be running them, because I am very on the any percent grind, lowering the time. But I do enjoy. I think the minimum jumps is really cool. I'm looking forward to see if anyone can save the jumps that I can't. If anywhere, it would be near the start. Those 4 jumps for the long jump, or the high jump and the wall jumps. Either way, it's still a very cool category. And then refresh percent, I think, is very exciting, because it gives people an opportunity and an excuse to practice their elevator skips. It's essentially a category that is a minute of elevator skips. So I think that's funny. You don't see that. You don't get to do that very often. And like I said, it's good practice for all of the other categories. Elevator skips are used pretty much everywhere except crouchless and minimum jumps, so I guess not everywhere. Still very cool. Yeah, but in each of the rules, there's going to be specific amounts of proof that are required for each, just as a requirement, because if I tried to just keep it on a basis of people can release whatever time, it's harder with any percent because, or it's easier with any percent because I personally know what times are possible, and we now have proof standards where people are able to put screenshots, and that has helped a lot with people posting illegitimate times, which doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's kind of upsetting to the people running the game. They think, well, then why would I try? So I'm just trying to keep it fair for everyone. But those proof standards for each of the new categories are going to be included somewhere in the rules section, and probably in the description of this video as well, whenever I get to releasing this. So hopefully everyone will have no questions, and if you do, just message me on my profile to say, I don't understand what you'd need to finish a run with this. Then that's totally fine. Just ask. And if not me, just anywhere on the studio. I'm sure people will be able to figure it out. But yeah, so that's the new categories. I think they're really cool and have a lot of room for improvement. I really think people could have fun running these, which is, they're different, so it's not something that people are used to. But I think people will warm up to them once the build that is built for them gets released. I think it'll be fun. And the minimum jumps, even outside of speedrunning, is fun to try and do, because it is very challenging, and I might have to release a guide for the route for that, and once I learn the crouchless guides, strats, I will of course release a run for that as well, or a guide for that. But yeah, so that's that is that. I sure hope that this is helpful to everyone. I think it will be. I think people are going to enjoy this. I can't think of anyone who wouldn't. It's a pretty cool idea, and I'm so glad that somebody had it finally, because I had been thinking about something like this, but I hadn't thought of any interesting categories. And if you have categories of your own, something that you like to see, or if you have an idea for some cool category, then leave it in a comment here, or back in the speedrunning studio, which I will link below. I've been trying to do that on each of the new ones that I post here. But yeah, just post it anywhere you want, your ideas, just somewhere that I can see them, because overall I'm the one that's going to be able to do something about it, because I run the leaderboard as of now, which as of now should be forever. But if that ever changes, then message them. So yeah, so that is the category extensions for massively multiplayer platformer version 1.2. So be on the lookout for the new speedrunning build. I'd really prefer people, if they don't want to run on the main game, to run on that. And if you're running for a category like minimum jumps, you have to, just for the accountability of the jump number, the amount of jumps you've done. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So thank you so much once again. Go follow S161431. They're a very fast runner. If you see on the leaderboard, they're just behind Callback and Rando, but they are a fantastic runner. Sub 9 or sub 59 is very respectable. And I appreciate them and the contributions that they have made recently. Very cool. So yeah, I'm glad that they had this idea. It's very cool, and hopefully you guys think it's cool as well. So I think that's all. Bye bye.